Hello and welcome to Dear Comms, the coffee break podcast where we tackle your biggest corporate comms challenges. I'm Imogen.
And I'm Amanda. We're here to provide practical, no-nonsense advice so you can focus on what matters most, driving influence, engagement and impact.
Today's question comes from Chris. We have a new CEO. What are the key things I should be doing to onboard them and raise their profile?
Well, this is a biggie. Welcoming a new CEO is a pivotal moment for any organisation. It's a big task that comes with high expectations, both internally and externally. And as the comms expert, you're going to play a crucial role in ensuring a smooth transition and setting the stage for their success.
Yeah, your new leader is stepping into possibly the biggest role they've ever had, and they have a lot to prove. Everyone is going to be watching. It's not enough to simply send out an email. Your role is to manage their profile over the long term, ensuring they're known, respected, trusted. It's about ensuring they align with the existing culture and stakeholders, the business priorities, while giving them the space to develop their own direction.
Yeah, a well thought through and executed onboarding process is not only going to help the new CEO integrate seamlessly, but also reassures stakeholders and maintains organisational stability. When I became the CEO of Burson's London office, I had a whole team working with me to make sure that we were on track, that we were covering every stakeholder that we needed to cover. And my arrival wasn't about just being the new leader.
You need to make sure your CEO is seen as someone who's bringing exciting new opportunities and a fresh leadership style with, of course, a clear vision for the future. You know that I'm going to start with the plan. I always start with the plan. I think it's something all communications teams need to have, whether they're welcoming a new CEO or not. Much like a crisis communications plan, you should have a CEO communications onboarding plan that's ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. And when that moment does come, zoom in on those first 100 days. How are you going to introduce them to the business? What are you going to do externally? What meetings do they need to have? And how will you get them up to speed with all the major projects and key priorities? You know, when will they meet your major clients and the media, for instance? You need to plan this in.
Right. Once you've got that strategy, think about the tactics and think about how you can shift onboarding into something more akin to a listening tour.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because your people want to feel included. They're not just spoken at. Find out what they want to hear about from their new leader and maybe flip the traditional town hall format. Instead of employees asking the CEO questions, get the CEO ask them something.
I saw an idea which I loved, and that was to split a town hall into groups and then ask the teams to respond to the question, what's the number one challenge that we face? By giving our employees an active role in the onboarding, not only are you going to get better buy-in, but you should also be able to give your CEO a more natural insight into the organization, the team, and how it works.
And speaking of insight and understanding, that brings us to the next big thing, the CEO's narrative. Now, they're going to have their own tone, their own style, so it's important to get close to that early on.
And we shouldn't just focus on what they say, but observe how they say it. So how do they show up in different settings? What language do they naturally use? That will give you a good insight onto how you can shape their communications and so they can come across authentically and transparently.
And just importantly, Imogen, it's learn what doesn't work for them. What's outside their comfort zone? What formats or topics make them nervous? Knowing that can help you guide and support them more efficiently.
We actually covered this, if you remember, on our very first episode. So go and check that out if you haven't already.
Okay, once you've got that narrative, I think it needs to do a few things. It's got to reflect the CEO's personality, outline their vision, set expectations, and above all, feel genuine. And it should underpin everything they say and do.
Which brings us back to what we said earlier. This is not a one and done exercise. You can't just send out a welcome email and then that's it.
Definitely not. Your CEO is now the face and voice of the organisation, internally and externally. So the way you introduce them matters. It has to be deliberate.
So think interviews, media appearances, keynotes at conferences, and don't forget how they come across online. Do a full audit of their social channels. How do they stack up against their peers, other industry leaders?
Yeah, and it's not just about visibility, of course. Relationships matter too, and especially early on. So carve out time for one-to-ones with investors, partners, key clients. Make those first impressions count.
If you don't have one already, it's worth developing a stakeholder map to identify who the CEO has to meet and when. It's also important to ensure that these meetings are not just a hello meeting. How do they actually support the business agenda? What can we get achieved from these meetings?
Well, listening as well as talking is a good thing. And going back to that idea of listening, it's not just the CEO that needs to listen. You need to listen too. So put place ways that employees and stakeholders can feed back on the integration process.
Yeah, it could be surveys or feedback sessions or check-in. But whatever you do, it's important to address any concerns you hear quickly. So get a sense whether your CEO's communications is resonating. Are they being perceived as a leader and in the way in which you want them to be? And how are they being received externally?
Yeah, and another thing, whilst you're gathering feedback, encourage the CEO to reflect too. How do they feel they're coming across? Are they comfortable? Do they have everything they need? Are they equipped, confident, supported?
Our role as communicators is to be their support and their counsel. It's tough for anyone going into a new company or a new role, but it's even tougher when everyone expects you to have all the answers.
Yeah, you need a support team. So be that steady support, offer guidance on the culture, the communications landscape, any sensitivities that stakeholders might have, and be proactive with the feedback. Be somebody they can trust.
As with any change, and this is no more than a change communications program, but bringing a new CEO on board means, of course, you need to have meticulous planning, but you also need to have clear communication and proactive engagement. You, as a communications expert, have a pivotal role in helping shape the narrative and helping your CEO shine.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility, but it's also a brilliant opportunity. Well-connected and integrated CEO can inspire, connect, and lead with real impact. So you're really, setting them up for success.
Take the time, do it right, and you will create a leader who is making a real difference to the long-term success of the business.
As always, we've got to that point. If you've got a communications conundrum and you'd like us to unpack it, drop it in the comments.
We love hearing your questions. So until next time.
See ya.